how much do you listen to reply? Where you're listening to someone, but you're just thinking, oh, I hope they haven't finished because I've got something I need to say. And so you often talk about the concept of moving from listening to reply to listening to understand.
Yes.
And I reckon that involves asking questions.
It's good to do that. Yes, you need to ask questions, open-ended questions. Tell me more. Help me understand. And what am I missing? Because if the conversation is going in a direction that you're not sure and you've asked for understanding on that, you're missing something for sure.
Welcome to the latest edition of the Family and Business Podcast. Hey, Caroline, joining me as always. Been a busy week. What have you been up to?
Oh, it has. It's a super busy week. We've been working on the next intensive coming up on the 22nd and 23rd of July at Tweed Heads on the Gold Coast.
Yeah, cool. Actually, nice segue because we are giving away a golden ticket. In fact, two golden tickets to two business owners. If you'd like to join us for a 2-day intensive where you're going to sit in a room with other business owners, it's actually normally only open to our Mastermind members. So these are guest passes we're giving, 2 tickets, 2 business owners for the 2 days, 22, 23 July. If you're watching this on YouTube, just type golden ticket in the comments below. If you're listening on the podcast, we'll put a link in the podcast notes. We're going to draw this on Monday, the 13th of July. We'll put a link in the podcast notes for you to shoot an email through with the word golden ticket in it. And hopefully it's you that we choose. We'd love to see you there joining us for 2 days on the Gold Coast. Well, we're going to work on some really practical things in the business you walk away with that you can implement in your business straight away to give you more time, more money and freedom. Yeah. And even things like what we're about to talk about now, which is how to have kind of productive business conversations.
Yep, that'd be. Hey, it's exciting.
Have you ever walked away from a conversation, not with me, just so we're clear? Have you ever walked away from a conversation thinking, "Oh my God, what was the point of that?" Or "What a waste of my time?" Or, you know, "We've had this big conversation and nothing is going to change." Or I reckon what's worse is you have a conversation, you're all hyped up and you think it's positive, and then a week later, nothing has changed.
Yeah. Not with you, though.
Not with you. That's a given. So, I mean, I think that often we think that the success in business comes about by how many conversations we have or how many meetings we have, or you talk to people and they go, "Oh, I've been in back-to-back meetings with the team," and well, that's just a waste of time, dude.
Yeah, I was going to say that's just an ego thing.
Yeah, it is
very
an ego
busy
thing.
in meetings.
I'm very, very busy.
I'm very, very busy.
Busy being busy. But you've actually got a bit of a framework. So if you're listening to this and you're going, "Yep, that's me. I find myself in meetings and they're not productive or nothing changes," there's a bit of a framework that we can talk about around how we get more value out of those meetings.
Yeah, you put it down into four main areas, essentially. It's clarifying the meeting and the topics of the meeting. Listen before you leap in, essentially. Focus on your solutions and always finish with accountability, because that's one of the most important things.
Yeah, look, accountability, because that's what gets rid of that, we just had a meeting and nothing changes, right? Yeah. The accountability, and I think we'll talk more about that. But let's start with where you're at. So you're talking about clarity. I mean, I reckon one of the biggest issues, if I'm having a meeting with someone, I like to know, what is the issue? What is the problem? So you've got to clarify the problem.
Yeah, where I sort of went with this one is we often, it's human nature, I think, you often avoid having difficult conversations. And especially for those people who hate conflict, if you can sort of work out a bit of a framework to your conversations that you're in the meetings that you're going into, whether they're difficult ones or not, you're going to find general. Everything seems to just work out a lot easier, and your meetings become more effective.
So, because, I mean, you're not a big one for difficult conversations, right?
Or for difficult people, no, I'm an easygoing person.
Well, it's really funny because you always say you've got a rubbish memory, but you can remember everything I did wrong over the last 20 years.
That's a female thing.
So but let's talk about clarifying the problem.
Yep.
But the other thing I always ask is, what's the outcome we want?
Yeah.
So before we go into a meeting, because you know what happens is you can get into a meeting around a particular problem, and next minute, you started talking about problem A, and now we're talking about problem B, C, D, E, F.
No, you have to stay on tune with what you're talking about. Otherwise, and this is probably one of my weak points, you start talking about something and I go off onto some other thing.
So I like the idea of going, what's the problem? What's the outcome we're looking for? And I think the other thing too, Caroline, is to separate facts and assumptions.
Yeah.
So, like, here we're working from some facts. Here we're working from opinion or thoughts or assumptions. It's okay to have both,
Yeah.
but we've got to be really clear about which is which, right?
Which is which.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, step number one, get clarity. Get clarity around what's the problem, what's the outcome we want, and what data are we working from. Step number two.
Yeah. So listen before you lead. So where this sort of comes into play, I think, is don't listen to reply or to have a snazzy reply. Listen to understand. So, we have 2 ears, 1 mouth. So let's listen a bit more. I think that's something you always go on about.
Oh,
but
my dad used to say that. He goes, God gave you 2 ears and 1 mouth for good reason. You should use them in that proportion. Right? It was one of his, not something he didn't do particularly well, but anyway, it was something that he said all the time.
Listen to get the facts and listen to get whether it be frustration, whether it be solutions or, problems and outcomes, all those sorts of things. If you can understand what they are, maybe it's the background of what the issue is, it's going to make your conversation piece a lot easier.
So I think one of the things that you can do as you're listening to this now is to think to yourself, the last conversation you had, whether it's with your business partner, who may also be your life partner, because that's kind of who we work with, or your team members or a supplier or, anybody in your ecosystem, if you like, is how much do you listen to reply? Where you're listening to someone, but you're just thinking, I hope they haven't finished because I've got something I need to say.
Yeah.
Right? And so you often talk about the concept of moving from listening to reply to listening to understand.
Yes.
And I reckon that involves asking questions.
It's good to do that. Yes, you need to ask questions, open-ended questions. Tell me more. That opens up a big, broad amount of opportunities for the speaker. But then, help me understand if there's frustration that's brewing. Help me understand what is happening in your head and in your thoughts. Then, what am I missing? Because if the conversation is going in a direction that you're not sure, and you've asked for understanding on that, you're missing something for sure.
Okay, so we've been married for 20 years. We've been in business together for 15, 16, 17 years. And I've got to know that you have great ideas and great thoughts, but often 30% of those ideas stay in your head and only 70% are spoken. So often I'll say to you...
I thought it'd be 50-50 to have a full conversation in my head and then...
It's a public forum, I was being kind. But the thing is, they are really good ideas. So that concept of help me to understand, I'll often say to you, I don't know what you mean by that. Can you give me more detail? And you'll often sort of go, well, why didn't you read the other 30% that was in my head? But I think it's a really cool, it's a really valuable tool, right? To sort of go, like, okay, help me to understand that. Or I don't get that, but I must be missing something. Help me to... And at the end of the day, what you really want to achieve by these, you've labelled this, having productive conversations. What you really want to achieve is conversations that lead to two things, I think: a positive outcome and enhancing or furthering a positive relationship.
Yes.
Yeah.
What you can't say in these questions here are, I guess, attacking questions. So, you wouldn't come in and say, oh, my God, I can't believe you don't bloody understand what I'm saying. Can you please tell me?
No,
what
I don't
you're
think
saying?
that's right.
So,
I don't think that's right. Do you know what I mean? Yeah.
Yes, you can't come in with a negative on that. It has to be an open, positive question.
We had a client years ago, and every idea when I was coaching him, every idea that we put forward, part of the coaching process, his response would start with, the problem with that is. And in the end, we kind of walked away from that coaching job. And if you start every reply with, oh, the problem with that is, your team or whoever your spouse, your other half, whatever it might be, you're just going to go, well, that's just a waste of my time. Hence, the opening line, we walk away from a conversation going, well, what a waste of time that was.
Yeah.
So I think you've got to ask those open-ended questions. Help me to understand. Can you tell me more? I'm not quite picking up what you're putting down. Can you help me to understand this a bit better? Maybe I'm missing something. This doesn't quite make sense to me. Help me to get it.
I'm hearing this. Am I on the right track?
I love that one. I love that one. Listen, here's what I'm hearing. And we don't want to turn this into a counselling session, with all due respect to any of the counsellors or psychologists that are listening to us right now, but it's not a counselling session. This is about improving communication. And at the end of the day, if you're having this conversation, particularly with your business partner, you both do want the same thing.
Yeah.
So this is how you kind of get on the same page.
Yeah.
Right?
And you can use these same tools, if not with your business partner, with your team. You can use this communication style with your managers and things like that. You need to be able to have tough conversations with managers and still go into a meeting knowing that you need an outcome.
Yeah, and I mean, I think we used to teach this as the old sandwich approach, or whatever people used to call it, where you'd be all the fluffy stuff on either side. You're doing a really good job, but there's just this one thing. But overall, you're doing great. I just think that's kind of passe now,
yep.
and I think people see it. I think people see it a mile away. They are, you're just pulling the hamburger or the sandwich approach on me. I think they actually call it like the shit sandwich because it's all the rubbish in the middle. But I think people see that now, and I think this is a much better way of just let's focus on, first of all, focus on getting things clear. And then secondly, making sure that actually people are being heard. So listen before you lead. What about step number 3?
Step number 3 is focus on the solution. What we need to control in this conversation. What are the next best steps? Who do we need to solve this problem, and when is it going to be solved by? There's a few different things that you need to incorporate in there, but if you have that full understanding of the final solution and focusing just on the solution, your process is going to be a lot easier.
So because we practice what we preach here, right, and we eat our own cooking and we kind of test all of this stuff, I find that the people who work closest with me actually come to me now and say, I don't want to just present the problem, I actually want to present the problem and a potential solution. Because what you're saying here with this step number 3 is to focus on solutions. Don't stay stuck in the problem.
No. And that's something we say to our members all the time. Don't stay stuck. Book a call, let's have a chat about something. And often something that seems to be a big deal in our head or a big roadblock is really easy to fix by just bouncing it around with somebody else.
And sometimes it's easier to stay stuck in the problem, and there are people who like to stay stuck in the problem, but it's not productive. It's not going to get you anywhere. You've actually got to move out of the problem by staying stuck in that solution and working to an outcome. All right, step number 4.
Step number 4 is finish with accountability. Every productive conversation needs to finish with no assumptions. Everybody needs to be clear on what it is that they're committing to, what it's going to look like, so that all expectations are met.
For me, I like the idea of accountability being, right, who's going to do what, by when. And the other thing, and you haven't got it in your format here, but I love the concept of BAM FAM, right? Book a meeting from a meeting. So rather than saying, okay, so you're going to do this and it's going to be done by this date, and when that's all done, we'll talk about getting back together again. I'd rather go, hey, this is what everybody's going to do, and let's get back together again this same time next week, 7 days' time, and let's review and see what's happened. But I think that accountability piece is like the really, really important piece.
Yep.
There's certain things that kill this process, though, isn't there?
Yeah.
Do you know?
Beg your pardon, what? Hey?
Yeah.
Generally interrupting really, for most people, really annoys them.
Yep. Blaming.
Like
you kick off a conversation with, all right, this is all your fault, and this is like, it's just not going to go anywhere. I mean, it might be their fault.
Yeah, and you can't assume what that person's.
Well, what happens when you assume?
What happens, Mum?
Oh, well, everybody knows what happens when you assume. I think blaming, defending too. You know when people get really defensive?
Yeah.
But here's the thing. There's a little trick I use with that, and that is using I more than I use you. So the more I say you this, you that, like I'm even pointing my finger as I'm saying it to you, and you're kind of feeling attacked, and so you're going to naturally go into a defense mode. Yeah. Whereas if instead I go, listen, I've got an issue with this, and I'm finding this is a problem, or I'm finding that the clients are unhappy with this, or whatever it might be, using more you're going to find it's more collaborative, and you're going to find you're going to come on board with that 4-step solution process.
Yeah.
Improve communication.
The conversation framework should really look at the process, the facts, and listening, and just agreeing on the actions. I think they're the main 4 things.
Start with a purpose.
Yep.
Share the facts, listen, and walk away with a solution.
Yep.
Nice 4-step process to get it happening. I think the other thing too, Caroline, is just to remember that at the end of the day, healthy businesses aren't just built on systems. They're really built on productive conversations. And if you're talking about couples or families in business, sometimes it's a little bit, I think there's another dynamic there, because you can if you have an unhealthy and unproductive conversation at work, man, that shit's going to follow you home.
Yeah.
It's going to eat into your personal time and potentially end up in an argument as well. And so if you follow this really simple, really very simple framework, get clear on what it is first, listen before you lead, focus on solutions, and have really clear accountability. I reckon if you just did those 4 things, you'd find that your success in conversations, your productivity level is going to increase massively.
And these are for the hard conversations as well, because we often don't do the hard conversations. And with not having the hard conversations, that's going to make everything a lot more complex, and things that are just every day-to-day questions and meetings that you need to have become way more complex than they need to be.
They fester, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. These are the sort of things that we teach our clients in our mastermind program all the time, right? Designed for people who are in a family business, because we understand, being married and having been in business together for 20 years, we understand the complexities. So, hey, if you are watching this on YouTube, we'd love you to do the following 3 things. We'd love you to like it, subscribe it. We'd also like you to comment below if there's something you'd like to hear us talk about. Or if you'd like to win one of those golden tickets to the upcoming Mastermind Intensive on the Gold Coast, 22, 23 July, just comment golden below. If you're listening to this on your favourite podcast platform, please like it and subscribe. And if you know someone who is in a family business you think would benefit from these little things that we do every week for about 15 minutes, please share it with them. Hey, Caroline, that's good stuff.
Yeah, that's
good
great.
Chat.
Thank you.
A very productive conversation, Caroline.
Well, I came in with a plan and a purpose, so...
And we focused on the solutions.
You listened very well.
I did. Until next time, please make sure you spend time with those who matter most.